Hey, my sweet, sweet students, we are here on lesson 6 of chapter 8. So check it out. I'm going to move the camera a little bit closer. I am going to have you actually not do lesson 5, Go Math. Just under the circumstances, I just feel like maybe the drawings might confuse some of you and I'm not physically here to show you. So we're just going to go move on to lesson 6. Lesson 6, today we are going to solve equations that have multiplication in it or division in it, and we're going to use inverse operations to help us solve. So inverse operations, you know, is the opposite operation. Number 1, what is happening right here with the coefficient with the variable? What are they doing? They're stuck together, right? They're stuck together and they are multiplying. So right now they're multiplying. We have to go ahead and use the inverse operation, which is division. We're going to use division to help us solve. So the way we can show division with these equations is we're going to actually, instead of putting a division sign, we're actually going to make a fraction, okay? We know fractions are division problems. So I need to get x by itself. That's your goal, getting your variable by itself. Get rid of the number that's next to it. I'm going to divide 4 on this side. Remember, whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to divide 4 on the other side. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that's like me just saying I have 1x. I'm going to cancel this out and I'm just going to put x, okay, equals 16 divided by 4. What is 16 divided by 4? It's 4. Now let's see if this was true. I'm going to go back and double check. If x equals 4, let's go back to the original equation. 4 times 4. What is 4 times 4? 16. So I did it right. Yes. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2. 3x equals 12. So something times 3 gives me 12. That's what this is saying to me. But we're going to use inverse operation to help me. Although I know you probably know the answer. So I am going to divide here because right now it's multiplying. I'm going to divide 3 divided by 3, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side. Okay, remember that fraction really means division, okay? 3 divided by 3 cancels out, and I'm left with x by itself. Your goal is to get that variable by itself. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So we'll write down 4. How do I double check my work? The way I double check my work is I go back here, 3 times x. X is supposedly 4. So 3 times 4 equals 12. Yes, it does. Check. I got it right. Move on to the next one. Divide 3 on this side. Divide 3 on the other side. I use this side with the variables where I always start. This cancels out because 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I'm left with 1x equals 9 divided by 3. What's 9 divided by 3? 3. All right, so how do I double check my work? I put this back here for x. This is supposedly my solution. So 3 times 3 gives me 9. Yes, I did it right. Let's move on to number 4. 5 is being multiplied with x. So I'm going to divide 5 on this side. I always start on the side with the variable, okay? So 5 divided by 5 is 1. I'm left with 1x, right? This cancels out. If I did it on this side, I got to do the opposite side of the equal sign. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So I have 3 equals x. Now, is this true or not? I don't know. Is this a solution to the equation? Let's double check. Go back to the original equation. X is supposedly 3. 3 times 5 is, yes it is, it's 15. Okay, got it right. Let's go to a complicated problem. All right, para complicarles la vida, like I always tell you guys, let's make things a little bit more complicated. Challenge your brain. Same process, 3.5 or 3.5 or 3 5/10 being multiplied with x. If they're multiplying right now, what's the inverse operation? It's division. So I have to divide on both sides. So I'm going to divide 3.5 on this side. I always do it on the side with the variable because I want to get that variable by itself. Divide 3.5 on this side. This cancels out. I'm left with x equals. Now, I don't know 14.7 divided by 3.5. Do not use your calculators. I want you to do this by hand. So the way we're going to set it up, he is on the roof. He wants to get down from the roof and inside the house. 14.7, 14 7/10. I'm going to do my work here, right here on the side. 14.7 is inside the house. He wants to get off the roof and inside the house divided by 3.5. 3.5 is my new divisor. I have a decimal outside and a decimal inside the dividend. So move decimal so it becomes a whole number. 1 time So I move it one time here and then goes to the top in my quotient, in my answer. Can you see that? It's like super tiny on the camera. Zoom, 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 zoom in. There we go. Sorry. So 35 cannot go into 1. It cannot go into 14, but it can go into 147. Now 35, I know that 35 plus 35 is 70. 1 and 2 times. 70 plus another 70 plus another 30 would be 100 plus another 5 to give me 35 would be 105. That's 3 times. Plus another 35. Well, 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 30. 140 would be 4 times. I'm close. Let me try 4. You don't have to do it the way I was just doing. You could just sit there and do the multiplication. 35 times 1, 35 times 2, 35 times 3, 35 times 4. Do it by hand, okay? 4 times 35, we know is 140. Subtract, I get 7. Decimal's already there. I can just put a 0, bring it down. 35 times 2 gives me 70. Subtract, I get 0. So my answer is x equals 4.2. How would I double check my work? The way I double check my work is I have to do 3.5 times 4.2. If you do that, you should get 14.7. Okay? Let's go to another problem. The next problem is number 6. The last one for today, or for this lesson, is 3/4 times g gives me 5/8. They're multiplying. Right now, the g and that fraction are multiplying. What's the opposite? Division. So how do we divide fractions? Do you remember? We really can't divide a fraction. You have to flip it, find the reciprocal, and multiply it. So we're going to do that. I'm going to find the reciprocal. The reciprocal will be 4 over 3 times 3/4 g. So you see, I flip this one, and I put it here, times it, because I'm trying to divide. We know we can't divide fractions. We have to multiply. We flip them, multiply them. Okay? Follow? Okay. G equals 5/8. I'm just copying this over. Equals 5/8. Now, if I do it on one side of the equal sign, I got to do it to the other side of the equal sign. So 5/8 times 4/3. Well, you multiplied on this side. 4/3. So what happens here? This is going to cancel out. I'll show you why. 4 times 3 is 12. And 3 times 4 is also 12. And 12 divided by 12 is 1. So this becomes 1. 1g is the same thing as me just saying g. So I can actually erase that 1. I can actually just know that it'll always cancel out what's on the side of the variable. I'm just going to cancel them out, and I'm left with g by itself. Now I can go ahead and multiply on the right side. When you're going to do fractions, you can just multiply the numerator, multiply the denominator, and you're good. Okay, you don't have to have the same denominator. You just multiply across and across. 5 times 4 is 20. 8 times 3 is 24. This fraction is not an improper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator. However, you can reduce it. I see that they're both even numbers. So how can we reduce it? Well, they're both even. So I can divide them in half. I would have 10 over 12, but they could be divided more. I need the greatest common factor. What's the greatest common factor for 20 and for 24? Is it 4? Yes, it is. It's 4. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. And 24 divided by 4 is 6. So my final answer is 5, 6. G has to be 5, 6. How would I double check? 5, 6 times, 3/4 times 5, 6 will give me 5/8. All right, boys and girls. I love you. I love you. I love you guys so much. I hope that you're doing wonderful.